be more than happy to take some questions. Well, I think our report speaks for itself. Everything is in the report. I think everyone needs to make their own judgment. I will say just what I said a moment ago. I think the system failed the officers. It's easy for us, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent on this, and I can't tell you how many hours our men and women have spent on it. We spent 2 months on this. This whole incident lasted 22 minutes. And from the time these officers entered that school, we guess that whole incident only lasted a minute. So it's easy to put a report together. That's our job. I said we were going to get all the facts out, and we've done that. And it's easy for us to do it. It's not easy, but it's easy to go back and say this was done wrong, this was done wrong, this was done wrong. And there were errors made, as we point out. And there's no doubt about it. To me, the takeaway from this, and everyone has to make their own judgment. It's here. You all will have it in a moment, everything. You make your own judgments. The public can make their judgment. The community can make their judgment. I think the system failed these officers. They were making tough calls. And as we say in the report, while the beliefs they had turned out to be wrong, you can understand how they believed that based on the totality of the information that was coming to them. I've detailed, and I went back, and I wanted to make sure we went back and looked at the police department's own regulations and compare those with what happened. We just have violations all over the place, and we have a lack of command. We have a lack of control. And maybe I didn't articulate it very well here when we wrote this, but in the end, when police officers are in what they perceive to be a life and death situation, and they're making split-second decisions, their subjective decisions have to be controlled by training, practice, discipline, command. This is a failure of command. No one knew how many cars, until it was all over, were in this pursuit. The supervising officer thought there were 3 cars involved. And so we've detailed here all the different problems, but it's a failure. The system let these guys down, and the women down.
How many people, if any, should face charges for this?
I'm going to introduce the prosecuting attorney, and in fact, he might as well come on up here now. He's going to say something. Prosecutor Attorney McGinty, we have kept informed all throughout this. We briefed him again this morning to finalize the briefing. This report, as we indicated, is normally we wouldn't be having this. Normally, this morning I would have walked into his office and handed him all this. But we wanted to get this information out. The prosecutor felt very, very strongly that this needs to come out. I agree. He and I both feel that this information needs to come out right away, and we're putting it out. It is now in his hands. We're done. We're available as anything continues on. The team that did this, but we're done. It's now over to the prosecutor. So let me introduce the county prosecuting attorney. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll get my stuff out of your way so you don't fall down. Go ahead.
Just for a point of clarity, you're not recommending anything. You're just
Let me finish it. My job is not to make a recommendation. Let me reiterate how this works. We were asked to come in and do the investigation. Sometimes the Attorney General's office is asked to come in and be a special prosecutor if there's some conflict or some reason. We were not asked to come in, and we're very comfortable with that. We were asked to do the investigation. So we're the investigators. Now it goes to the prosecuting attorney.
Can you talk real quick about whether you think that the city of Cleveland is capable of making some of these policy changes?
Okay, you hold that question. I want to get the prosecutor, let him make a statement, and we'll have we'll both be up here, and you can ask both those questions. Get that out of your way, sir. Sorry.
Thank you, Attorney General Mike DeWine. I want to begin with my sincere thanks to this team that he has formed here. The day following this incident, the East Cleveland Mayor Norton called me as a prosecuting attorney, requested advice and assistance. I recommended a task force led by the Attorney General's office. It's a very capable, neutral, and experienced team with the sheriff and with the East Cleveland Police Department to combine this task force. So I want to thank East Cleveland Chief Spots and his team with Lieutenant Jacobs and, Lieutenant Ruth and Sergeant Gardner, the Sheriff Bova and his predecessor, Sheriff Reed, who agreed to work on this task force, and their participants, Detective Pinckney and Jacobs, who was here a moment ago, the BCI team, a very experienced team led by the lead investigator, Mark Kohler.
Mark's right here.
And Dennis Sweet. This is a remarkable team of investigators who put a tremendous amount of time in on this case over these last 2 months. We had anywhere from 20 to 49 individuals, if you include lab individuals from BCI, working on this case at various times. Most of all, I'd like to thank our Attorney General. When I called and asked them to take over the lead and be the investigators on this case, and they agreed to do so, this was a monumental task. This is an enormous amount of resources they put in that the sheriff or the East Cleveland Police wouldn't have been able to do, would match the manpower and expense necessary to do so. From the beginning, I had asked and envisioned a report that would become public, and with the example that we were all given as kids, or at least Mike and I are old enough to remember the Warren Report. You investigate you investigate it, you put it out there, and for the public. I can't say enough about Attorney General DeWine. He's been a great law enforcement officer as a prosecutor. In his past, that's where I first met him almost 30 years ago when he was president of the Ohio Prosecutors Attorney Association. He's been a great senator, public servant, and he's done a great service to our community in conducting this difficult investigation. Many people who are more politically oriented, if I would have called and asked them, would have told me to jump in the lake, swim to Canada, and call me when you get back. I'll think about it. He took this right on and said he would do it. He saw it as responsibility he could handle. So, and I think this great investigative team here that was formed, because I know they put their heart into this in drawing everything out. I also want to thank the Cleveland Police Administration for immediately recognizing that this was a case that would be best investigated outside their own agency for public confidence purposes and thoroughness. And I want to also let it be known I appreciate that every single police officer in Cleveland and these adjoining communities who joined the chase were 100% cooperative, did participate without any request for any immunity of any sort, and never invoking their Miranda rights or any other step. So we are grateful for the opportunity to have these facts collected, this investigation done. It is my job as a county prosecutor of Cuyahoga County now to carefully review this team's investigative facts, which I had the first chance to read this morning, thoroughly investigate where needed, in addition, to request additional investigation where needed, and Attorney General DeWine and his BCI investigators have agreed to do so if further needed, to farm out, so to speak, any additional investigation or second opinions that will be beneficial. And then we are going to present it to the grand jury in full at that conclusion. We see many disturbing facts here. Neither Mr. Russell or Ms. Williams should have been or deserved to be killed that November night. A disciplined and organized police department would not have disregarded its own departmental rules and training and allowed an individual who is intoxicated, possibly drugged, and possibly disturbed or suicidal with a long criminal history to provoke and, in essence, take control of a large number of police officers, perhaps over half 100, and to have them chase him in, at unsafe speeds through a highly populated neighborhood, and subjecting danger to the civilian population through heavily traveled intersections, disregarding red lights, stop signs in a 25-minute, 22-mile chase. And this wide chase covered the west side, downtown again, much of the east side, University Circle, and heading into the Heights in East Cleveland before it ended. The only thing that could have made it worse would have been if innocent additional drivers or pedestrians had been killed, or the police had shot their fellow officers to death, as very nearly happened in a heavy crossfire that resulted in this event. Their failure to comply with the police regulations was a major factor in creating this perfect storm. Considering the friendly fire that tore up the police vehicles, it was indeed, I would concur, a miracle that there weren't more burials that followed this event. One of the most upsetting findings is that the police supervisors were in the midst of this unusually long and serious chase and actually participating in it with dozens of cars in view instead of taking control of the matter, trimming the number down or calling it off. We do not want to see history repeat itself. We're going to call for legislation that would provide incentives to both the high-speed chase offenders and police to avoid situations like this in the past. We'll detail the statutes later. The chases, this is a very difficult case to look at, to analyze, to evaluate. Chases like this instinctively draw the most courageous and dedicated police officers into them. They're willing to risk their own lives to help and protect their fellow officers in danger and to protect the general public from what appears to be a dangerous offender. However, if they overreact and let the offender control the event and disregard police policy, the police become the larger danger to the public and themselves. I'll also entertain questions. No, that's my job. It's a difficult job. I'm elected to do this, and we're going to present this to the grand jury.
You don't see any possible conflict?
No, this is what prosecutors are elected to do.